Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and two backpacks. So, something unusual happened. Life changes. We really are living in a very special time, a challenging time, a really distinctly challenging time. But also time passes. So, the Garibay household has changed significantly over the last few years, where me and my wife have had four kids for forever, seems like, and we're now down to the point where we have one child who lives at home, and he's a sophomore in high school, and we're doing the best we can to finish well and give him everything we gave the other kids in a more challenging time than any of my other kids ever saw. America is the best description of where we are right now is a mild apocalypse. It's catastrophic. We have been on the brink of we've been 5 centimeters away from World War III for a year. Eggs cost a fortune. It is very dire in America right now, and I can tell you, I'm a small group leader in my church, and an elder in my church, and that makes me look at the church very closely. It makes me look at our community very closely, and I can tell you, people are under strain. Americans are under strain at a level we have never seen before. It is very, very bad. Some of every day there's just a new report of some horrific thing that's happening in America, and people are just feeling it. They're like, everybody was, I think. What was happening was everybody was waiting for the new normal for the new normal to stabilize, and people are looking. And then the biggest problem that happened is President Joe Biden, right? Like the biggest problem we have right now is there's a villain who's pressing the entire world into war, and threatening the entire world, and we have a coward president who won't put boots on the ground in Ukraine, take half of Russia for us, and give the other half to Ukraine. Every problem we have disappears overnight, right? Or we trade them for problems we can at least understand. But I think right now we're struggling with problems of cowardice that nobody understands, right? So, but one of the things that's interesting is my wife works really hard in the house to really nurture the children, and then I work really hard to make sure that we have provision. That's the structure we've chosen. Lots of other families, structure things differently. That, it's great, no problems. That's the structure we have, right? And so I rarely see, so just recently, my wife, we're very blessed to have some friends who moved to the middle of Pennsylvania. And so my wife has been having these opportunities once every 2 months. This probably happens a half a dozen times a year. She'll go up and she'll stay with her friend in the middle of Pennsylvania for 2 days, maybe 3 days, right? And it's just like a little vacation for her, and it's a real blessing because she gets to go away and doesn't have to feed my son, doesn't have to do the laundry, doesn't have to do a million tasks that normally she does, right? And it's just a break for her, and we are now at a point where our older son is highly functional, and me and my older son are able to get along for 2 or 3 days without her, and it's actually really helpful because the level of care is completely different. When my wife is home, the questions for my son are, do you want extra syrup on your pancakes? And when she's gone, the level of care for me is, are you on fire? Are you bleeding? We're like, if not, we're good. We're all good, right? It's just and it really shows him his mother cares deeply for him, and a huge portion of her life is dedicated to making the lives of the children better. So, all this to say, I don't really know what happens when my kids go to school. I don't really see it ever, right? I'm getting up, I'm showering, getting ready for work, and getting ready to crush the day, and we just have these different worlds, right? So my wife went away on this trip, and so it was up to me to get my son to school. So I did, right? So I take my son to school, and I'm paying attention, and I remember, and this thing has been ramping up for a while, where kids are like, hey, every kid's backpack is stuffed with books, and the backpacks were just getting ridiculous. to the point where your kid would put on their backpack for school, and it was filled with so many books and so many extras and so many things they needed for school that they would fall over when, like, when the thing was packed. And I watched as my son went to school, and I was dropping him off, and he pulled 2 backpacks out of the back of the car. In order to take all the stuff he takes home to study, he now carries 2 backpacks. And I was like, what? It astounded me. I couldn't believe it, right? Like, because I had seen this problem growing, I had heard about this growing, like, and I could tell you why this is happening, right? If you're an engaged student today, it is so much harder. Like, I graduated high school in 1988, and I went to Millersville University, a state school, right? And I was proud to go there. Now kids are trying to get into Ivies. The competition for there's so much virtual dagger fighting over salutatorian and valedictorian now, that they literally, many schools are literally just giving up because they have parents in the principal's office 3 times a week for years, with their parents fighting the battles to get their kid to the top and get valedictorian. And some schools are like, we cannot maintain this. Like, we're literally going to take this crown away. Nobody's going to get it because we can't maintain the insanity that swirls around this. My son plays sports. You wouldn't I played sports. I was actually a pole vaulter on the track team, and I was a wrestler, right? And I'll tell you, I ran around the track. I did what I could to stay strong. You would not believe. My son's on soccer. Soccer for high school. Soccer training goes year round. Year round, the team is getting ready, and and I was like, isn't the season over? There is no over. It is astounding what's happening. All right. So what does this mean for Dungeons and Dragons? Right. Life is so much harder, and everything that it's a 2 backpack world now. To do what I did in between 1975 and 1988, I did it with 1 backpack. It's a 2 backpack world now, right? All this to say, dungeon mastering. We are so incredibly fortunate. I have seen it. I have seen Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. 0 spoilers here. It is phenomenal. We are about to see a tsunami of new players coming in, not new dungeon masters, and we have a problem. I really feel there is going to be a press for Dungeons and Dragons play. There are going to be a lot of people who want to play Dungeons and Dragons after they see this movie, right? And so now there's dungeon masters who are current dungeon masters are going to have to step up and do more. But even more than that, new people coming in are going to have to be dungeon masters, and it is not the same world. They are coming into dungeon mastering is 10 times harder than it ever has been. It is a 2 backpack dungeon mastering world. Ben from Questing Beast said it at the end of 2022. He said the expectation on the 5th edition Dungeon Master is that you know the rules backwards and forwards, that you are an absolutely epic storyteller, and that you will be a life coach. The expectations are mammoth. The expectations for being a Dungeon Master are 20 times higher than they have ever been. They're D20 times higher than they have ever been at any point. The expectations are massive. And the dungeon masters who are going to be receiving these new players are under more strain and more stress and more pressure than ever. The standard is set. What is the standard for a dungeon master today? Trust and belief. It is Matthew Mercer. If you don't have the same level of energy, the same ability to do 20 voices, you suck, and your players will tell you that on session 1, right? In addition to that, the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is brilliant, but it is going to cause a problem. The story told in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves It has an absolutely blistering pace. It is told very, very quickly, and people will walk out of Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves and say, "Oh my gosh, these stories are going to move fast. All this incredible stuff is going to happen. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to get to say cool lines and slay cool things, and it's all going to happen very, very quickly," because that's what Goldstein and Daly and Goldstein, the directors, established and accomplished in this film. And when they see, right, the grindingly slow pace of Dungeons and Dragons, when they see that their dungeon master is not Matthew Mercer, has not spent hundreds of hours building a self-crafted world, does not have charisma for days, does not have intelligence for days, does not have confidence for days, it is going to be horribly disappointing. And we are going into a cataclysmic moment for Dungeons and Dragons, where the demand is going to be so outrageously high, and just sorrowfully the ability to deliver what's being asked is going to be shockingly low, and brutally disappointing to many, many people. We are in a 2 backpack world for students today. We're 5 centimeters away from World War III, and everything is cracking apart, and there are real problems, right? How do we manage it? Well, me and my wife, we bought the second backpack, right? And we strive and struggle every day and never give up. And that's the solution. And I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this channel, you are a skilled dungeon master. I can tell you that right now. 9 chances out of 10, right? You actually care. You don't think Dungeons and Dragons is about cutting goblins in half. You want to use Dungeons and Dragons as a tool to improve people, right? And I'm telling you right now, there is more pressing need for you to step up and do what needs to be done, and encourage others and build other dungeon masters than ever before. There is a problem. You and I are the solution. We have got to be at the table. We have got to be building the next generation of dungeon masters. We have got to get the second backpack, right? And it is a 2 backpack world, right? The solution is not to stay on the couch. The solution is to grab the second backpack, pack it, and do what my son did. Couldn't believe it. I watched my son, put 2 backpacks on his shoulders, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they don't fit. This is bonkers. But this is where we're at, and it's time to shut up and put up. It's time for us to move into action and do what is necessary to take Dungeons and Dragons to the next level. But I did want to warn you. I wanted to warn you. We have a tsunami of players coming in. This movie is going to hit, and it's going to hit like a comet. I think it's really going to do a lot of business, and I think it is going to put a level of goodwill on Dungeons and Dragons for the muggles of the world that no one ever expected. And every OSR, D&D hater out there is going to be eating their words, because this movie is unbelievably good. It is shockingly good. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.